I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'll begin with some introductions. I'm Tom Prickett, Chair of the Zoning Hearing Board. We'll work from my right or your left. We have Kathy Landock, who's the stenographer. On my far right is Bob Vaughn, who's a member of the Zoning Hearing Board. To my immediate right is Kara Sheridan, who's Vice Chairman. To my left and to your right of me is Chris Volz, who's attorney from Tucker, Aaronsburg, and he's a solicitor for the Zoning Hearing Board, and Elizabeth Ross, who's the zoning director. With that, I'd like anyone who is requesting a variance or plans to give testimony tonight, if you'd please rise to be sworn in. Thank you. I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes of September 18, 2023.
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
I would second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have no old business or new business. We have two items this evening. The first is application number 2023-0009, Thomas Galonia. Is that correct? Galonia. 33 Windcrest Drive, Cecil, Pennsylvania. Nature of the request is basically a variance to install a 10-foot high privacy fence in the backyard. I'll make a couple of comments to hopefully help you in your presentation, and when you're ready, if you'll come up and give your name, address, and then make your presentation. But I would have liked to have seen some plans or drawing of the proposed fence. If you would have that with you, it would be welcomed and appreciated. And then I'm a little confused because it's a variance to install a 10-foot high privacy fence, but I believe the fence is already installed. Is that correct? That's correct. Okay. If you'll please come up to the podium, and we'll start with what presentation you'd like to make, and then I'm sure we'll have questions.
Before we get started, since we have an alternate here, could we have a motion to appoint him as a sitting member of the board?
If we could have a motion to appoint Bob Vaughn, who is an alternate, as a sitting member of the board, I would welcome that.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There are 5 items that we look for to kind of help you, one of which is
That's a submittal right there.
So you can just scroll through it. You can see.
Oh, I can read it off of this then? Yeah, it's bigger. Yeah, it's bigger. I can see it better.
and as you see, we have the 5 items. If you can address each of those with comment, it would be much appreciated. It helps us become familiar with your variance request.
The 5 items here?
Yes, unnecessary hardship of the land or the building, no reasonable use, hardship not created by the applicant, not alter the character of the neighborhood. And if we have anyone who's present who's a neighbor, we welcome their testimony or comment. And then minimal variance. If you can address those 5 elements, it would be appreciated.
Okay, on the first one, on the... Oh, I'm sorry, Thomas Galoni. The first one?
Yes, sir.
It says, a unique, the neighbor's adjacent elevated driveway. It's about 2.5 to 3 feet above my yard, where the bottom of the fence is.
Okay.
This is the parking is elsewhere. I just have yes on that one. And the third one, the necessary hardship has been created. No. No, it doesn't. 5 is the variance privilege doesn't affect the roof. Yes.
Can you speak in the microphone just a little bit?
Speaking of mic here.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Just to reference, the UDO section 1204E restricts fences to 6-foot height. So what you're requesting is much greater than a normal variance request.
First of all, the driveway is 2.5 to 3 feet above the bottom of my fence, their driveway. So
Okay.
it's kind of ridiculous to have a 6-foot-high restriction if you're on maybe flat ground. But say, for instance, if I have a 6-foot wall beside someone and I put up a 6-foot-high, what you call them, privacy fence. I didn't ask for a privacy fence, by the way. I asked for a security barrier. That's what this
Okay.
is considered. I consider a security barrier or security fence. When I worked in construction before, that's what we normally called them, security barriers. It depends on the situation, but that's what this is. So that's why when you say 6 feet, it doesn't make a lot of sense. 6 feet's an arbitrary number. Whenever you're talking about security fences, they go anywhere from 8 to 20 feet. So I'm within that boundary of it.
Okay, now you mentioned a 3 feet height differential, but if you add in what the code restricts a fence to 6 and 3 would be 9. Would 9 be acceptable?
Pardon?
Would a 9-foot high fence be acceptable?
Yeah, and it's only 1 foot more, so what difference does it make? Structurally, it works, okay? That's all. It's 10 foot, the fence, so it's like 6, 3, then it's 1 foot up there.
Right.
That's,
Normally, 6 and 3 would be 9, but
Right.
this fence is 10.
10. Yeah, it's 10. I made it 10 because of
Do you have any pictures with you that we could pass as exhibits?
I don't have any pictures of the fence. I didn't bring any of those here. There's an adjacent 4-foot chain link fence here. I just built it beside that fence, okay?
Uh-huh.
Now, I did have a justification for that. I mean, I provided it. Did you guys read this justification or nothing?
We've received your application for the variance.
Justification then? Did you read
Yes.
the justification?
Yes.
The letter that
Yes.
came with that? Okay. So do you want me to read that?
Or if you can reference the key points, I think that would be helpful.
Mr. Urbis has lived beside me since about 81, and you couldn't ask for a better neighbor. I mean, they've been great. I really can't. And about a year and a half ago, I really didn't, they started acting, they didn't talk as much, but I didn't think that much. If you've had a neighbor for 40 years, they've been really good. He's given me stuff. We've given them tomatoes. I know their grandchildren. I really like. But about a year and a half ago, I noticed I got grandchildren too, and they're 5 and 2, and they would come down with my daughter-in-law and her mother. When I was there, I was okay, but they occasionally watch a German Shepherd, and it can stick its paws at the very top of the fence, okay? Now, when I was there, that was okay, but I had a little bit of concern. So I went over, Mr. Urbis was out the fence, and I went over to him, and I asked him if I could raise the fence a little bit so the dog couldn't get his feet on the top of that.
And the fence at that point in time was how high?
4 foot.
4 foot.
Not my fence, that's his fence.
His fence.
His fence is 4 foot.
And I think he has a chain link fence, if I'm not mistaken.
He's had it there for a long time. I mean,
Okay.
I don't care for chain link fence, but it's his fence, his property, that's fine. But he's been really a good neighbor. I have over those years. So when I went to ask him about moving it, because I figured what he'd tell me, he said, hey, Tom, we only watch the dog occasionally. When your grandkids are down here, we'll just put the dog in so I don't have to worry. Because I know of a dog that's, a German Shepherd, even though it could be the friendliest thing, that big, it can jump over the fence and it can kill somebody. So I went over and asked him. I went down. He says, I was up on top of the. I apologize. I'm kind of nervous. So.
This may help you so you don't have to lean into the mic.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That should be a little easier to
better?
use.
So now I got to get taller. Sorry. Okay, that's good. Thanks. Anyway, so I was up on the porch and I said something about the fence, and he says, I can't hear you. You want to come down here? So I went down to him and I say, Joe, mind if I raise up the fence? And I was flabbergasted. He says, I don't care what you frickin' do. You could raise up 20 frickin' feet. I mean, I was just, I didn't know what to, well, about a week or two before that, he had called up the police because I had a video camera on the back wall, about 3 foot. I was testing it for, not for my place, I was using it somewhere else.
Excuse me, sir. You'll get your chance to talk. Let's let him give his testimony now.
So anyway, at that time, he caught me off guard, and I says, well, John, I don't appreciate you, calling the police about my camera. I says, I have it up the creek. He said, no, you aren't. You're looking at my frickin' window, and if you want to take it back to the frickin' creek and play it back here. Well, the police had come, and they came and looked at it, and it was actually aiming at the tree. It's 3 feet off the ground. His bedroom window is probably, I'd say, 60 feet or so feet. It's 20 feet. I couldn't look in their bedroom, but that wasn't the purpose. The purpose was...
And the reason that you had the camera?
I was testing for the distance. I had the one part in my living room, and I was trying to put this as far away from my living room as I could, where there was electric.
Oh, excuse me,
It's
sir.
for use for elsewhere.
Excuse me, sir. You'll get a chance to testify, but we're going to have one at a time, and I don't think you've introduced yourself
He's trying to
yet
help me
either.
out, that's
I
all.
understand,
He's his
I
son.
understand. But
Tim Galani, I'm his son.
Yeah, he's just trying to help me because I'm having so much trouble. But anyway, so that's basically...
So the relationship deteriorated.
There was no relationship. That's what scared me, okay? I'm afraid that if I look over there... Now, I've got a daughter, okay? She has what they call it? She's a late talker, okay? But she actually has, I think she has Einstein syndrome. But regardless, she tends to look at people. I mean, stare at them. She just like, if she saw you and you're new, she would stare at you. Now, I have a tree back there that she climbs in, and then I have a trampoline. That's 3 to 4 foot high, okay? And I'm concerned that since these people have been my good friends for 40 years, they've changed, okay? Something's changed, damn it. And I just read about a guy, a 74-year-old guy. This other guy was cutting, his son was cutting a tree down, cutting the tree off on the property line for his dad. And the guy, 74 years old, come over and shot him, okay? So I'm concerned something's changed with these people. I hated, they're really the good friends, okay? So what happened? I didn't do anything. I don't recall doing anything. I don't talk politics. I know that she's an anti-vaxxer. That's the only thing I know. I've had my COVID shots. I don't know if that had something to do with it, but the relationship completely changed. Now, I don't want to have them to call up the police and say I'm looking at them, or I don't have my daughter looking at, or my granddaughter looking at them, and them saying something, and then being afraid maybe they'll yell at her, or...
Now, when was the fence installed?
Well, the fence installs in 2022, about June.
Okay.
It's been there over a year. They've never complained. Now, what happened is a tree limb fell down. Now, they know that the tree limb that fell, that's not my fault. Okay.
The tree is on your property.
Yeah, but the wind blew it over, okay?
Okay.
Sir,
You really need to restrain
You
yourself.
need to
You'll have
restrain
your
yourself.
opportunity to give testimony, but please restrain yourself.
I'm sorry. The wind blew the limb over, okay? Now, it's done this before. One other time, 2 of the limbs blew out of these trees, and they blew over. This has been years ago. The same trees, they blew the limbs over. So at that time, I just went and got my chainsaw. I went over with Mr. Urbis, and I cut it up. And then I went down to Heckinger's at the time, and I got because I thought it was my responsibility, and I got the pipe and everything to fix it. Well, he in turn called the attorney, his attorney, and he said, no, he says, Tom, he says, it's my responsibility. I have to fix it.
Did you go onto his property to cut the tree
Yeah,
down?
oh yeah, at that time, yeah, sure. Yeah, I fell over on his property and knocked his fence down. So I took all that pipe back. I was going to fix it, but he said he would fix it. That's what I'm saying. He was a good neighbor. And so he fixed it. So just recently we had a big wind and it blew this limb down over on the property. Okay.
Separate from the tree that went down?
That was before. It was the same
Okay.
tree, but it was a different limb. This is like
Okay.
20 years ago.
So a second incident.
Yes, and another limb. It was a horizontal limb, and the wind blew it. And fortunately, the berry that I got, The limb actually caught to the top of it and prevented from flattening his fence out.
Okay.
But regardless, I figured this is the time I'll just cut the fence down, or cut the tree, trim the tree back a little bit more. So I went up and asked him, he was up cutting the grass, and I says, do you mind if, I says, I'm gonna have somebody come in and get rid of those limbs that fell on your property. Now, knowing that I know that that isn't my responsibility because the wind blew them, but that's okay. He's been a good neighbor all these years. I just didn't want him any hassle. So he says, fine, that's okay. So I basically, I got a couple of bids. I got a $1,500 bid and an $1,100 bid to trim the tree, trim just those limbs right there on his side. And he come down, he says, Tom, can you cut this limb off here? I said, Joe, I'm gonna have it all cut off. And I said, I'm gonna have this all hauled away. And he says, fine. Is that okay with you? He said, yeah. So I wanted to make sure everything was okay. I was in his yard. So I went in the back where the limbs had fallen over the fence and they were laying there. And I didn't want the tree trimmer, because I got a bid to have them take those limbs over on his property, trim off the new ones so it was vertical. I've got the quote there, $1,100. And then I was going to have them pick up that debris that was laying there, okay? And so I was back there, but I didn't want them to mess with it because the limbs were way out extended. And I know if they would come, they'd probably smash some of the decorations back here. So I went back personally, climbed over the fence. His chain fence was broken. And I went in there and I cut the limbs. I drug them into a pile, okay? And then so when the tree trimmers did come, they didn't have to mess with his stuff. They could just do those limbs and my limbs. And that's what I was planning to do. When I was back there doing that, Mrs. Urbis come back and started yelling and screaming at me and cursing me out. And I says, well, I was trying to explain a little bit. I couldn't explain anything because she just yelled and screamed and called me all kinds of different names, okay? So I didn't know what to do then. And then I think Mr. Urbis come either that afternoon or the next day, and he come back and says, I'm taking you to the township. This is over 6 feet. I fixed his fence too. The bar was bent. I took about a half an hour and straightened it up, put it in there. He says, it doesn't meet my standards. And what are you going to do about all this? Get this goddamn all this stuff out of here. So I went back, threw that all of his stuff. I already hauled my stuff away in the truck. All of his limbs are laying on my side. I put them over there, and I put my part of the barrier back up. So they're laying over there right now, and
So they're still there?
they're still there. They're actually his
Okay.
responsibility.
And we're going to welcome Mr. and Mrs. Urbis's
that's fine.
testimony to hear their side of it.
That's fine. That's fine. But I'm just telling you,
So the limbs are still on
the
the
limbs
property?
are still there. So if someone want to look, they're from just his yard, okay, or their yard. I already hauled mine away. I didn't know exactly what to do with them. I mean, if you're the type of person, when a limb falls down, it's your responsibility. You figure, say, well, I'll pay to get those removed or whatever, right?
Now,
But-
it looks like under material on the third page, you have even though we don't have a picture of either the plan for the installation of the fence or a picture of the fence from you, but we do have a description of the material. It looks like, what, dog ear boards?
Dog ear boards they use for fence, yeah.
Okay.
A locust post.
Okay.
In the verticals, which without high, you got to use steel or you got to use locust.
Right.
You can't use
Are they
pressure
in,
treated.
are they in concrete?
No, they're down. No, you don't want to use concrete. Concrete's the worst thing you could use. What you want to do is you want to put them down in the ground, and then you tamp them, but you want to put sand around them.
Okay.
Because then as they vibrate, the sand goes down and makes them stiffer.
Okay.
That's what they do in the ocean when they put things down in the ocean. They push. But if you use a concrete, once the concrete's, then it keeps wobbling. So you never want to do that. Okay. But they're 2.5 feet down, 5 feet spacing, and they're like I said, the fence is 10 feet high. But those are locust posts. A locust post, if you're familiar, that's the second strongest wood in the world. So.
Okay. Do you have any other presentation to your variance request?
Pardon?
Is there anything else to present? Because I think we'd also like to hear from your son. We'd also like to welcome any other testimony.
No, that's fine. That's,
If I
Do you
could-
have any, sorry,
And before you leave, though, we have some questions.
go ahead, after your question, I'm going to gather my papers.
Okay.
do you have any surveys or any other document showing the difference in height between your yard and your neighbor's yard?
No,
Okay.
How could I do surveys? I can't get on his property. I'd have to go over and do something off of his property. It's 2.5 to 3 feet, something like that. It's
The whole
it's
way?
not- No, his driveway that comes over where his driveway's at. Where the driveway, his driveway and my yard is like 2.5 to 3 feet higher.
So just a portion of his yard is 3 feet higher than yours?
Right, right.
Is-
But
what
if you're
about the
gonna-
rest
if you're-
of it?
If you're gonna build a fence, you don't build a fence like this and come down and go like this. You have to make it the same distance everywhere, so it looks halfway decent, okay?
Okay, yeah, but I understand that, but for most of your yard, are they the same level in the back?
It slopes downhill, yeah. As you go further down, they're both the same level, that's
They're
correct.
both the same?
That's correct. That's
But
correct.
initially, there's about a 3-foot difference.
Yeah, it's a 3 foot difference. That's how I sized the fence, to make sure that they, I couldn't be accused of taking a camera and looking over their property anymore, so I made sure that for we're sitting on my deck and where they sit, you couldn't have any visual contact. I've always been under if you're out of sight, out of mind, right? That way they can't call up the police and say, hey, they got their camera looking at me or something like this.
Okay.
Since they had done it once before.
I think we have some additional questions.
Yeah, I guess just to clarify, the fence will be protecting from what? I heard you just say 1 minute ago of being accused of pointing
Yeah.
a security camera, but what are the other things that you're hoping that this higher fence, the height than the
Well,
fence is going to
I don't want them taking my picture, okay? Because I've seen, I was up on my elevated up there, and Mrs. Irvis had her, I don't know if she's taking my picture or not, but she had her camera up, or her phone up like this. I don't know if she's taking, I don't want them to take my picture, and I don't want to be accused of taking any of their pictures or their video. And again, I have my daughter-in-law who has a tendency to stare. And there's a tree back there, she climbs in, so I've got it elevated and up. That's why the fence, when it goes back by the tree. So if she happens to be up in the tree, she can't stare at anybody because the fence is that way. I don't want her to be yelled at or be accused of my granddaughter staring, because she will do that, okay? And my son can attest to that.
Okay, thank you.
Does that help? Does that answer your
Yes,
question?
thank you.
I'd like to add one thing, or clarify one thing.
Sure.
The neighboring property, the Urbis property, it's not, the elevation is the same, the ground, right? Like, it's just that their driveway's higher,
Yes.
right? Because
Yes.
they have like
It
their
comes down
fence
the
and a
driveway, it's
picnic
like
table.
3 foot higher. And then
Right.
they have a big concrete backyard there, so if you're over there, you could still see over it.
Right, but
it's
like
just
I
not
was
like
just, there's not a change in elevation.
Right.
you
It's
know,
the
from
height
one
of
to
the
other,
driveway,
the
which
driveways.
creates it 3 feet higher than your
Yeah,
property.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you were to walk down that driveway, or on any of that part of that back, on that, you would actually could see right over that.
Right.
I mean, look, I've lived there 40 years. I didn't want this fence.
Well, I mean, anybody could potentially see over their neighbor's fence if they would go up high enough.
Well, sure,
Right.
sure.
Okay, I was just clarifying
Yeah.
the
The
property.
the differential height.
But this is not a fence I wanted to put in. I wouldn't live here for 40 years and all of a sudden say, I want to put in this 10-foot fence. If I didn't have sincere concern that there's been a change, for whatever reason, these real good friends have changed, and I don't know why, okay?
Okay.
And that's what scares me. All
Okay.
right.
If there are no other presentation comments, no other questions, I think we'd like to hear from your son. Same thing, if you'll just give a name and address, please.
Yeah, my name, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
My name's Tim Galoni. I actually live right up over the hill at 1 Fieldcrest Drive, so it's in the same neighborhood. Good?
Yes, sir.
So yeah, basically, I mean, my dad summed up everything there pretty well. When he's talking about daughter, he was referring to granddaughter, that's my daughter. So when he might have said daughter-in-law, he means my granddaughter is who he's
Okay.
talking about. But no, I mean, I grew up here in Cecil. I lived in that house until I moved away to Columbus. I was in Columbus for 13 or so years. I moved back here. Nice neighborhood, nice area, and I ended up getting a lot up there on the hill. right up from them, because I like the neighborhood, I like the area and whatnot. So that's how I ended up living there. But I mean, just in summary, I really know, like, it's kind of a sad situation to me and kind of odd because, I mean, I grew up there, I was a kid, we had never had any problems with Joe, the Urbises, never. I mean, we got along, talked at the fence occasionally, no issues at all. So it's we're just more or less confused what has changed, in the past year and a half that has caused this sort of irrational and erratic behavior. And my dad's not, looking at it from an objective point, not just because he's my dad, but he's probably the most honest guy I've ever met. A Vietnam vet, he tries to always do the right thing. And so when this, lack of talking and differences occurred about a year and a half ago, we were kind of confused. Because I remember driving by one day, and I think I saw Mr. Urbis in his yard, and I waved from my truck, and he kind of, I thought he didn't see me, or just was thinking about something, but he just kind of looked past me like I didn't exist. I was like, oh, that's odd. And it was about the time that they weren't talking or whatever, and then we were testing the camera, which, if you stop and think about it, we're testing a camera for use on other property. It has nothing to do with even this property. What's the problem with testing a camera on your property for use on another
Was
property?
the camera ever
So-
aimed at the
No.
the neighbor's house?
No, but that's the odd thing. No, that's the odd thing is if you're neighbors for 30, 35 years, and why would you automatically think something's going on like that? I guess is kind of the odd, sad thing in my mind. And then,
Can I ask just a quick question on
Yeah.
that? So the camera was never installed at your father's property. It was only being tested temporarily there, and then it was moved, and it
Yes,
did
that was
stay
the
there for
point
a
of
period
it.
time. Okay.
Yes.
Just wanted to
that was the
understand.
entire point. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't there, the police came to the house? There's a police report on it. I mean, you can probably go check the police report. So, but it's just, it's just very odd and sad to me. But due to the change in the behavior or the friendship or neighborship or whatever you want to call it, it's more of a safety thing at this point. Because like you said, my daughter is a late talker. She tends to stare sometimes at people. She's a little bit socially different right now. So we don't know if she's back there, if she looks over, if she says something. We don't know what reaction we're going to get. How would we know? Because for 30, 35 years, things were good, then all of a sudden everything changed. So
Now, I notice attached to the variance request are a list of property owners within 300 feet of the property line. I don't think you're included in that list, so you're further away from your father's house, correct?
yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to kind of speak on his behalf and sort of give a
So he's close, but he's not within that 300 feet? Okay. Anything else?
300 feet. Yeah, I may be about 300 feet. No, I mean, that's basically it. It's just, that's why the security barrier has been put up. It's more out of a concern for safety and really not knowing what to expect next. After 35 years, we knew what to expect. Now we really don't know.
Okay. Any other questions of this testimony? If not, do we have anyone else who'd like to give comments or testimony? Please come forward and provide your name and address, please.
Joseph Urbis, 35 Windcrest Drive, Cecil, PA. Liz, you have pictures. Would you like to share them with those other?
Yes, sir, I
People,
wasn't
you
sure
got
if you
'em?
were going to
Yes, sir.
speak or.
You can see them.
Yes.
Well, you can see what I have to deal with when
Do we
I
have-
look out my back door.
Do we have an extra copy of these that we can give to the applicants, just so they know what might be just being discussed? Okay. Can they just give them that one for now? Yeah.
One of those pictures shows the grade on my driveway in relationship with the rest of my yard. Right, good. Okay? George Flair, when he built my house, he graded that part that you see right there where my driveway sits on. There was a great big gully behind my house. I got that, I had Ronnie Flair fill that in so I could have at least a half decent looking backyard. But you can see where the driveway's at and you can see where his fence is at.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I want to do about the grade. You can see where his fence is at.
Yes.
As far as his tree trimmer done, he never done any tree trimming. Okay, that you can see by the branches sticking out of the fence, there's been nothing ever done with it. Okay. And you can also see some of the other pictures there of the condition of that tree. Okay?
Now,
You
I
can-
do see in this
you can
picture
look-
tree limbs.
Yeah, look at the cement. See how he's trying to repair it. That's why that part of that tree fell down too.
Okay. And it looks like there was actually accommodation with the fence for the limb to
Beautiful. ain't it?
extend to your property,
That's
correct?
real nice, ain't it? This is what I gotta look at.
And the chain link fence is yours?
Yeah, it's my
and-
chain link fence and you can see the height of his fence there.
Yes.
You can just gauge mine's 4 foot high, and you can see how much higher that is. Not only that, the quality of the work of that fence that he put in there, as you can see it. Okay. My wife won't let me use the words that I'd like to use. She told me, because she's just a nice person, she didn't want me saying things that I really honestly want to say. Okay? I'll just get to the point here and I'll be done. But you can see by the pictures, okay, and the pitiful workmanship and the height of the fence of this piece of crap that he built, which you can see it is crap. And I got to live next to that. So all I want to say right now, all I can hope for is that you end up doing the right thing about this.
Okay. Any questions of Mr. Urbis?
I do. So it sounds like what you just said is that the issues are more with the,
Ma'am, I can't hear you.
can you guys hear me? The question I have is, it sounds like the issues are more with the quality of the workmanship than the height necessarily,
No,
or is it?
both of them, everything, the whole thing. I gotta live next to that.
Yep.
I gotta look at that thing every time I walk out my back door. You can see from the pictures. Would you wanna live next to something like that?
Right. I completely understand. I'm just trying to clarify that, you know, obviously he would have the right to have a 6-foot high fence, would be a couple feet higher than yours. That's within the rights.
That's fine, 6 foot. That's what the regulations say. Ain't that what it is?
Yeah.
6 foot?
Yes.
He don't have to put up a 6-foot fence, fine, but at least make him do a little bit better quality work when he puts it up.
Understood. Thank you for clarifying.
Any other questions? If not, do we have,
Yeah, I have a few. When was the 10-foot version of the fence built?
I think there was testimony June
2022?
2022?
It's something like that.
Was there something there before that? Was there a fence there before that?
My fence, my 4 foot.
Did he have a fence
No,
there
he
before
didn't have
that?
nothing there. Oh, and by the way, about the dog.
That's,
Yeah, that's some of the words my wife won't let me use. Because I know just what of.
Any other questions?
no.
If no other questions, do we have anyone else who'd like to give testimony?
If my wife would want to,
Please. And same thing, if you'll identify yourself by name and address, please.
Actually, I do, sir, sorry, sir, sir. You submitted a letter with several pictures to Liz Ross.
yes, I did.
Would you
Yes.
like to enter that into evidence in this hearing?
If you think it'll help, fine.
Would you like to have it in evidence? I'm assuming yes.
Yes.
Do we have any objections to the pictures or letter? Okay, they're in the record then.
You done?
That's
Yes,
it.
sir. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Esther Urbis, 35 Windcrest, Cecil. Esther Urbis, 35 Windcrest, Cecil, PA. Everything has been fine. The only thing that I noticed about a year and a half ago was I plant flowers in the back of my yard, and there was an ICU camera up at, and it wasn't 3 foot. It's higher because he has back fences that are between his yard and the people behind him. There was a camera, and the camera says ICU. So that was aimed at our house for no reason. It was only our 4-foot fence, no problem. I have my grandchildren. Once in a while, she brings her dog over. Tom was the one that said, does your dog want to play with my dog? And I said, no, he stays here in this yard. Tom did say that to me. Also, I do want to say the fact that after the camera was put down, he went and put that camera up on the telephone pole by Timmy's house. Noticing as I was walking, it was eventually taken down. Why there's cameras, I don't know. The only other thing is, too, when I notice is the fact that, I mean, I have nothing against their grandchildren. They're adorable. Nothing against Tom or nothing against Tim. We just don't care for the fence. We don't know what they're doing over there because it's so high, and who knows? And with the camera, you know, if he has to say things and laughing, that's fine. But I never said anything and cussed him out. When the fence fell down, portion of it that came in our yard, the branches were everywhere. He's down there putting up his fence, throwing more branches in our yard. And I walked down there and I said, Tom, these are your branches. He says, well, Joe said I could put up a 30-foot fence. And I said, Tom, I said, that's a bunch of bullshit. And that's all I said to you, Tom. Okay, and that's it. I just think it looks ugly. It's poorly done. We did take pictures of the fence because of the issue. We also took pictures of when the branch fell down and damaged our fence.
Actually, I appreciate the pictures. They're very helpful. I would have appreciated either the plans for the fence or pictures of the fence to be included as a part of the variance request. So we welcome what you've submitted.
Good.
I do notice a discrepancy in testimony. I think in the variance request, it was stated that the camera was put up to check distance, as opposed to what I heard, I think, from your husband, was that it was aimed at your house.
The camera is on the corner of his property and is called an ICU camera. That has a wide range. He could look all the way up on Hillcrest, okay? Which I have our bathroom windows, bedroom windows are all up there. I don't know why he put it there. I'm sure he has a very good reason why. And then when he took that camera down, he put it on a telephone up by Tim's, a telephone pole. Obviously, that didn't stay long. So whatever it is, but, you know, I just think the fence looks terrible. And I have a picture of the camera that was. It's called ICU, and it was higher than 3 foot. 3 foot is this high. It was above up here, and I have a picture of it.
Okay. Any questions of Mrs. Urbis? If not, is there anyone else who'd like to give testimony?
The only one thing, if they want a fence, I can understand that. Well, put a fence up. But if one puts a 30-foot fence, does that mean everybody in this county can put up a 30-foot fence? That's they want a fence, fine. But I don't see where it has to be that high.
And as chair, I'm just one member of the committee, but the two sensitivities, which I shared early on prior to the variance request, is one, that it's already built as opposed to the variance request in order to build it, and two, normally with a 3-foot variance due to the height of the driveway, you would assume that 3 feet plus 6 feet would result in a 9-foot, whereas the fence is actually 10-foot high that's actually constructed.
It's higher than that. And let me ask you something. Is there a quality of the wood that should be used when you put up the fence?
Liz?
Is there a type of quality? And does it need to be maintained?
So there are not building code requirements for fences, if that answers your question.
Okay, that's fine. I understand.
Anything else, Mrs. Urbis?
No, I'm good.
If not, thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you.
Anyone else to give testimony? Yes, sir. Again, would you please come forward, state name and address?
My name's Dennis Fleer. I live at 31 Windcrest Drive on the opposite side of the Urbises. Excuse me? Fleer. Dennis Fleer.
So you're one of the neighbors within 300 feet of the
I'm
property?
I'm his bordering neighbor,
Okay.
all right?
Yes, sir.
We've had to deal with him building many homes in the backyard that the township couldn't do nothing about. I come out on my deck one day, I look over, there's a toilet sitting there. You know, the township couldn't do nothing about that until we went to build the second mini home. These are mini homes like camper trailers, big. You know, I deal with a trailer sitting here now with neon lights on it, right against his fence on my side of property line for free water. He has a trailer there. I never see anybody come get free water, but I do see the neon lights on the sign. He has a solar panel on the roof of it. All right. I couldn't bet that there isn't 10 houses in the Fleer plan that have their lots encased in a fence, especially nothing over 8 feet high. 10 feet is ridiculous. And there should be a quality of the construction, the structure of it. The fence he put there now, he took 1-bys and he buried them in the ground and he overlapped them like shiplap.
Yes.
That is the fence. There's no 4x4s. There's nothing to hold the stability of that fence. All right. So there's no engineered design of that fence. Fence should be off of the property line so he could come around his fence and maintain that side of the fence. You can't put a fence up and just leave the people on the other side, see it deteriorate and everything. You keep your side nice and clean. Doesn't seem hardly fair. I got a $600,000 house beside this that I'm planning on selling. I don't want my value to be depreciated by looking at these fences. There are nowhere else in the neighborhood hardly at all. That's all I got to say.
Okay. Any questions of Mr. Fleer? If not, thank you, sir. Liz, anything to add?
No, sir.
Do you want to go to executive session? Yeah, we can deliberate.
We'd like to take a brief break in order to deliberate, and we'll be back very shortly.
We need Liz?
Yeah, maybe.
We go over here.
Yeah, over on the right-hand side.
Thing in that one.
We'll come back out of executive session and resume the meeting. If there are no other questions, I'd entertain a motion pertinent to the variance request.
I move that we deny the request for the height variance.
Is there a second to that?
I would second that.
All those in favor? Aye. And Liz, if you can kind of walk us through what that means as far as the denial?
So denial of the variance takes us back to the notice of violation that was issued on September 1st, 2023, stating that Section 1204 restricts fences, latticework, screens, and walls located inside or rear yards to 6 feet in height. So any portion of fencing higher than 6 feet must be removed immediately, and the zoning permit can be issued for a 6-foot high fence, but the 10-foot high fence permit is denied. That's it.
Yes, sir.
Yes, you can, the next step will be you'll get a written confirmation of this decision with or followed by written findings of fact and conclusions of law, and you can appeal that decision to the Washington County Court of Common Pleas.
Yeah, you'll get our decision in writing, and then you can respond to that however, including filing an appeal.
30 days. Yes.
Thank you. Yes, sir. We'll move to the second item of new business, application number 2023-0010, Jim Zamiska, sorry. 523 Burnside Road, McDonough, Pennsylvania. Nature of the request is a variance to install a 4-foot-high privacy fencing in front yard, restricted to open style and a maximum height of 3 feet.
Jim Zamiska, 523 Burnside Road, McDonald, PA. And to clarify, as with the previous fences installed, I didn't know I needed a permit for a 4-foot fence. The installed fence is to enclose a patio, or rear patio, for 2 reasons. One, my wife has 2 small dogs, which rank higher than me in the pecking order. And she wants to keep those safe. But more importantly, the increased traffic coming from the corner plan past the house is almost an order of magnitude. Understanding that the trucks will lessen, but the traffic will increase as the homes further down Dogwood Lane towards Burnside are sold. And it really has been very effective in tempering the noise somewhat with the cars that are coming up and down Burnside Road. The fence was installed because of the small dogs with a small ditch dug first to the tune of, very small, 2 to 4 inches. So in theory, the 48-inch fence that is installed is in fact, based on the mounding and the ditching, about 42 to 44 inches. And it is a solid dog-eared type fence with the engineered panels bought because they want to keep the dogs in. The posts are installed with the Osco post spikes. They're 32 inches deep, but the post is attached. And I do have pictures, I did not supply them. I do have pictures of the installed fence and the type of spikes that were used to install the post, if you so wish to see them.
If you have those available, it'd be appreciated. Yes, sir.
All right.
Technology.
Great. So basically, the fence is to abate noise primarily, correct?
Make noise and to keep me from divorce. Protect the dogs. That is the fence, and it is located enclosing the rear patio of, I used to be my room.
Now, where
You
is,
said the rear patio?
Yes.
where
because-
is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, is it technically your front yard or is it technically your side yard? Because I drove past there before. Yeah.
Because, but the hill from between the house and Muse Bishop is ridiculous. So, in theory, it's an unusable front yard.
Uh-huh.
And I don't even really cut it regularly anymore, because it's just bucket of mold. So, I mean, that's what we use, because
Yeah.
the front is almost unusable. So that's a picture of the fence. Here's the installed fence with the supports that were driven into the ground.
Okay. Can you see those?
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's those stainless things that go right in, mainly because we have some oak trees back there. And these are just a picture of
Spiking, yeah.
the lights.
Now, because it's a variance request, because it's a privacy fence, you're here, but if you built a wall, there's no UDO code against that. Would a wall be, although you've already built it now, so.
Well, a wall would be pretty cost prohibitive relative to
The fence.
a fence, which I thought was overpriced to begin with. But anyway, that's neither
Just
here
to
nor there.
clarify, the height restriction applies to fences, walls, and hedges.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's really, those are the 2 reasons. Of course, the primary reason is for noise control. Relative to the questions, yeah, the traffic has increased greatly. I really don't expect it to recede very much, even with the completion of construction on that side of Dogwood Lane. It increased quite a bit with the overlook, to be honest with you. I'm not altering anything. My neighbors are fine because I can still see them because it's only a 4-foot fence, which after the first, I feel a little insignificant based on what was going on the first time.
Normally I'd ask for testimony from neighbors, but yeah, we have none here, so.
No, they said, they didn't.
And it looks like it is consistent with the nature of the property you have now. The fence is attractive looking and,
I think so. I think it looks okay. She wanted a 6-foot. I thought that would look somewhat gaudy, because it's too much. Plus, Mom lives next door, and I'd like to keep an eye on her house, which I can still see over this fence, to keep an eye
Yeah.
on her, so.
questions?
It doesn't impede any sight lines as you're exiting your property or anything like that. Okay, Chris or Liz, to his point, though, it is not his front yard. It is his backyard. Does that make a difference, or because it's front-facing of Burnside Road, it's still considered front yard?
Are you at an intersection or anything? Like, do you have
No.
2 roads on one side?
Well,
or-
yeah, the property in itself is at the intersection of Burnside and
Hughes
Hughes
Bishop.
Bishop. I have that point where everybody sticks their signs. You need to put some signs there. And then my driveway, if I back out real fast across Burnside, I will back right into Batista Drive, or Batista Lane.
Batista?
Yeah. That's where I'm at.
So you enter from Burnside.
Into
Your
his
driveway
side
Your
yard.
driveway connects to
Burnside.
Burnside.
Yes.
Where is your, could you, sorry,
Yeah.
since it's just us here. On this picture,
Yes,
where is your front door?
right here.
Can you put an X on it?
Yeah. That's the front, right there.
Where do you park your car?
Park the cars right here.
Where's your driveway?
Driveway is here, like this.
Do you have like a walkway or something to get to your front
You
door?
have a walkway that goes like this, that I will be tearing out because nobody ever goes in front.
So you go into the house.
We go into the house this way. We go through this gate, which I put in. We go through this way into the garage,
Uh-huh,
or into this back door right here.
okay.
And then
And
there's a basement door.
is this line the fence?
Yes, best I could.
Yeah. Is your property elevation-wise higher than Burnside Road? Or
Property's even with Burnside.
it's even with road? What's the space here? What's this? Another house?
Boy, I wish I could grow grass into nothing. That's our property. My mom's house is right here.
Okay.
So our property line is, this is Johnny Diego's place. This is Mom's place. This is my brother's place. These are all Jerry's right here.
Could you just finish the property line just so I can see? Does it connect to Burnside? Okay,
And then, well, these 2 roads are the property line.
okay.
And then it comes down and connects to News Bishop here.
I mean, that's what I was thinking. Does he even need a variance? Because it's not his front yard. But does it matter that,
Maybe that makes the property unique, but my
So-
understanding is the part of your yard facing the street that you enter and access from is your front yard, not which way your house is aligned.
I see what you're saying.
necessarily.
Okay, that was one that was unclear to me.
The way that this reads, it says, for purposes of this section, those portions of the side and rear yards which abut a street shall be treated as front yards.
And that's the way I read it. And quite frankly, oh, she's still there. We're flipping. The front, it's useless.
Yeah.
So in theory, we're gonna make that the front yard kind of sort of someday. Because we never use this, and I'm gonna take that walk out because it's pretty settled someday. That's the
So
intent.
the only other thing that I wanted to show is I don't know what pictures you had of it. I have a couple pictures from when the property was posted for this hearing. All right, I care not. They just, I'm gonna pass it around. There's 2 pictures, I'm sorry, showing the fence from Burnside Road.
Okay,
The first is if you're coming, down to how obviously you'll see you're coming down Burnside towards Muse Bishop. And then the second is coming the other way.
okay.
And you can see their driveway and the location of the fence. These aren't ideal. I was not planning on
So
using
Batista's
them
right
for
over on the
this.
left of that.
Yeah. just-
Behind, right?
Yeah,
If I'm
Batista-
facing your fence, Batista is
over
behind.
here.
Yeah.
Well, Kinda. Batista's down the road a little bit. It doesn't.
Yeah, okay.
Batista's behind the driveway.
My zoning comment is that we have fences, walls, and hedges may be permitted in any required yard or along the edge of any yard, provided the driveway entrances are not shielded by it. And that would be my only thought, is coming down Burnside towards Muse Bishop, which is where the majority of that traffic is coming because, the increased traffic from McConnell's Trails and from Overlook, that's the direction they're coming. It does seem to me that the driveway is now shielded from the fence, which was part of, from what I understand, the initial
Well,
complaint.
I cut that corner off, particularly because I didn't want that to happen, because quite frankly, it would behoove us to be able to see out.
Right.
So that's,
I mean, you're the one driving it, you would know. It just looks to me to be awfully close there.
So what exists now is not what is pictured on your phone?
no.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same.
Oh, okay.
So right here, see, I was gonna bring it down like this. That's why I cut this off, so that we could be able to
You'd have
see-
vision.
Exactly. Coming down here, this way, when we're backing out, we can see up there. This shows us.
You can see, but
I
can the
see,
people
I
coming
see
down the
Liz's
hill see
concern
you?
though, yeah.
The people coming down the hill can see me because forest flames are on this side, and I cut that corner off.
Yeah, because if they're coming down,
Right, they're on this side.
they have difficulty seeing anything until it gets to there.
Probably here,
I mean, would that be a super huge deal to cut just
Yeah,
a
could
little
we
bit more? like-
verticalize that a little bit?
You may take it from this post
Maybe like,
to this corner.
Yeah, like something like that, or, but, our concern,
is a car length unreasonable?
say again?
From where?
A car length from the road? Like so that if there was a
Remove
car
car
right
length
there, you
section
could
of the
see it?
fence.
Yeah, like have a car length
Right here.
section from the road to the fence?
I could easily take this 8 foot out,
Section out, yeah.
and not take it out, but use it,
Angle it.
turn it to meet that corner post.
I
So
think
that
that
it
would
Is
make
that
us
okay?
feel
That
amends it.
comfortable that,
So
That would-
post to post, right?
Well,
These are 8-foot sections?
Yeah, it would.
I bet it's
entail
not
an
16
intermediate-
feet, yeah.
It would be an intermediate
Yeah.
post, but that's okay. These two are in very good, so I could,
then we just protect ourselves from folks coming down, having a little bit more lead time to see you.
And you have a better line of vision, which is your sensitivity.
Correct, from what I understand, that was the complaint that was filed, yes.
Yeah,
win-win.
you add
It's
them
never me,
speeding
I
with
promise
lack of line of vision and
Well, and the new intersection creates that extra abstraction.
yeah, I mean, I could do that. That wouldn't be that big of a deal.
How do we describe that?
So we're saying this is 8 foot
I'll just do it.
approximately. I mean, we just need to say it.
Good.
in
We'll
law.
do it this week,
but it's
I can do
gonna-
it next week. Yeah. Take it
Is that what
from
we're
the-
talking about?
Yes.
Exactly. Liz, if you want me to send you this picture, and you could draw a line on it to send back to me to say, hey, do it here. You know what I mean? Would that help you?
I mean, I'll do whatever you want me to do.
Yeah, I'm just trying to.
I'll do whatever they say, how about that?
To write that,
Approximately,
in
gonna say.
paragraphs, to draw a line, it would be, do this. Because I'm gonna do it anyway. That's what you guys want. I mean, I understand what you're saying.
amend the fence by Burnside Road, 1 car length.
One section.
One section equivalent to 1 car length.
Yeah, because I'm gonna take it back to that post, if that's okay. I'm gonna do that little triangle.
Yeah.
Ideas for that.
Yeah, nice.
My hedges. No, I can't find hedges, I won't be able to see.
Just make a little driveway, sweep
Okay.
out your.
So
driveway.
hypothetically, how does this language sound?
Yep.
Grant as depicted in the application, on the condition that the triangular section is removed, as explained at the hearing.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna take it off at that post, get rid of this post.
Yeah, you're getting rid of this triangle right here.
And then,
Get rid of it.
because here's the other issue that's happening. A detour for Coomer Road is really coming up Burnside, turning in Batista, backing out, knocking over my mailbox, and then going back down Burnside. The knocking over my mailbox part should not be part of that detour, but it is. So what I might do, I just put my mailbox on top of that post without coming back to you guys to say, hey, can I put my mailbox on top of that post?
I think that's a post office question.
Okay,
We have
cool. Okay, so we're cutting it off at this post, we're extending it down to that existing fence that parallels the driveway.
Are there any other questions? I'll make a motion that we grant the request for a 1-foot-high variance and a use variance to permit the construction of the proposed privacy fence on the condition that the triangular section is removed as explained at the hearing and depicted, or not in depicting the application, but as explained in the hearing. Is there a second to that?
I will second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carries unanimously. Good luck to you.
Thank you. I need a week though. I gotta go to Austin.
You have to go to where?
Austin. F1 race. So.
You got
after
a
my
week.
vacation- After my vacation, I'll get it.
I'm just kidding. Fair enough.
Thanks,
We'll give you
Dan.
8 days.
Is there a motion for adjournment?
I'll make that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Did anybody second that?
I'll second it.
Okay.
That might have been, it's a record
I'll tell you what,
breaker.
8:07, Tom.
On a